This morning once again to resume our chapel once again. And secondly, I would like to give my heartfelt thanks to our academic dean for allowing me to have such time of time that I can preach this word of God. I'm glad to see you, all of you, everyone, for coming here and listening to God's word. Let me introduce myself. My name is Bro.Hegin. I'm from Kuki-Zo, Lhanghal district. Now, as you all know that I'm in final year. And before we look into our topic, or before we open the Bible, sir, we have a word of prayer and pray. Almighty God, Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for your goodness in our life, that you have blessed us this privileged morning that I'm here once again to stand in front of my dear friends as well as my dear teachers. Lord, as you know me, I'm nothing in me. I'm empty, Lord. Please fill with your Holy Spirit so that I can preach well according to your will, not according to my will. Committing my sermon and my time into your hand, thanksgiving in Jesus' name I pray, amen. Let me start my sermon like this by saying small statement. There are many Christians in the world, or there are many Christians, there are many believers in this town, as you said. There are many theologians in this town, but the main problem is that they do not know, or we do not know ourselves. We do not know who we are. And even the believer are many. We do not know that we are believers. We do not know that who we are. We do not identify ourselves. So for that, I would like to preach on self-identification. Our topic, self-identification. And in simply word, we can say that knowing who we are. For that, please turn with me your Bible to the book of Romans chapter 1 verse 1. Here, by looking here, we can see that who we are. By looking this verse, we can see that we can identify ourselves by looking this verse, as you said. And my dear friends, for before answering that, or let me put one question. Let me have one interrogative question like this: how can we know ourselves, or how can we identify ourselves? Let me put a question like this. To answer these questions, let us read that Romans chapter 1 verse 1. It says that Romans chapter 1 verse 1 says that, "For a servant of Christ Jesus, called to be an apostle, set apart for the gospel of Christ." It said like this. As I raise the questions, how can we identify ourselves, or how can we know ourselves? That we can see in these verses. This verse. For the first point, to answer that questions, let me say it like this: believers are the servants of Jesus Christ. That be our first point to answer the questions. To know ourselves, to know or to identify ourselves, we need to know that we are the servant of Christ. Here, by reading a part, we can see that for a servant of Christ, Jesus. We can see the first one is that Paul. Let us discuss about Paul. Paul. The meaning of Paul means little. Paul was the name after he was converted into Christian. Before that, his name was Saul. Saul meaning is blessings. It is a Jewish name. He identified himself, or he knows himself, that he is the servant of Christ. He is the servant of Christ Jesus. Here we see the word servant. Servant means, it is derived from Greek word doulos. Doulos means servant, or it is similar with bond servant. Here what I want to say is that Paul knows himself that he is bond slave or bond servant of Jesus Christ. By studying back the historical background, about Roman, that even Paul himself wrote the book of Roman, and he wrote the book of Roman around 57 to 59 AD in the place of Corinth, when he was traveling in his third missionary journey. And during that time, he was in Corinth, and he was written the letter of Roman. And why he wrote this book, when we say it, he wrote this book to teach a great truth of gospel to all the believers, or to the believers of Roman. That is the purpose of writing this Roman. And the key word, that is righteousness of God. That will be the about background for the Roman. And let me add a little more about the Roman. It was licensed in Italy and now in Europe. And it is said that during that time, there are around 1 million people out there in the Roman city. How large it will be? But by amazing. Here we can see that Paul identified himself by knowing himself as a servant of Christ. That is the first point. That, as I said before, the servant is derived from doulos. Doulos is servant. By studying the historical background about servant. Friends, look, in the olden days, they have a slave market, and they used to sell a slave in the market, like now what we are selling, vegetables or things like that. They used to sell. And some rich people, some rich men, they used to come and buy that slave for their property to use them. And when they buy that servant, even that servant belongs to his or her master. Even at that point also, after buying out that servant or that slave, even his life, his or her life, depends on his or her master. Even if he or she do not do according to his will, even the master can take his or her life. Up to that point, servant face. Nowadays, I don't think so that we will be having a slave or servant like this. Even though we are having just like a steward like this, it is not comparable to that. In Old Testament, slave. If we say, why Paul use this servant? Paul knows very well about the Jewish custom and Jewish traditions, and as he was also a Jewish, and the word servant is based on. He based on Old Testament slavery. That he know about the custom, that he know about the story of slavery. That is why he said that I am the servant of Christ. Here, by looking next word, that we can see that servant of Christ Jesus. Of, that we can see the word of. Those who are studying Greek, we may know that of is genitive. genitive, which means possessions or ownership. That shows that Paul is the owner of Jesus Christ, Christ Jesus. That shows that I am the owner of Jesus Christ. He has one owner, he has one master. That shows. As the master buy a slave in the market, so that slave will be for him, and the slave, even between the relationship between the slave and the master, it is very different. Even they cannot have a relationship, close relationship, both of them. Even the servant cannot ask questions to the master. Even if the master have something hesitate to do it, the slave must do it. At that point, they have a relationship, they have a difference between them. Likewise, what I want to convey is that for that, the application which I want to draw is that, friends, as the master bought out a slave for him, that Jesus Christ bought out or buy us on the Calvary for his blood, for his own blood. The master bought the slave with purchasing by money, but Christ purchased us with his own blood. That is why Paul bravely, courageously say that I am the servant of Christ. My dear friends, if we can say that like Paul, I am the servant of Christ, that as we are theologians, if we can say that I am the servant of Christ, I am the servant of Christ Jesus, I hope so that God will please to each one of us. God will please to each one of you, each one of me. Nowadays, sometimes we cannot think that I am the servant. Humbleness we cannot have. That is about the first point that we can discuss, to know ourselves, that we are the servant of Christ. For the second point, to answer the questions, answer that, for the second point, let us, it is said that in B part, called to be an apostle. That is what I want to draw. Believers are the apostle of Christ. Believers, you are the believers, I am the believers. We can say that we are the apostle of Christ. Here the word apostle, if we look in New Testament, it mentioned around 79 times in the New Testament. And the word apostle is derived from Greek word apostolos, which means, those who are taking Greek, we may know that apostles means messenger, or which means to send for a commissions. That is the meaning of apostle. Look, no one cannot be apostle. In general, I'm talking about in general way. If we say literally that we cannot be apostle. Apostles have some qualifications. No one cannot be apostle. By looking back historically, it says that one who will be the apostle, they will have eyewitness of Jesus Christ with their own eyes, with he or her own eyes. Those who see Jesus Christ with their own eyes, they will be able to be apostle. God or Jesus Christ select some apostle, 12 disciples to follow, to be a disciple for him, including Apostle Paul. There are 13, as you said. And then how this Paul became an apostle? If we look on the way to Damascus, as we all know that he was going to what? To persecute the Christian. On the way to Damascus, that God met with him and he was converted. Between the way to Damascus, for that he was elected as an apostle. Friends, apostles means, as I said before, the one who is sent for a commission, the one who is sent for a mission. Like, for today's context, we can say that like ambassador. Ambassador, the one who is sent for, in general, I'm talking about in generally, even though we are not literally ambassador, we are not literally apostle. We are like ambassador, we are like apostle. The one who is sent. Who sent? Jesus Christ sent Apostle Paul for his ministry, for his commission, for his mission. Likewise, where did God send this Apostle Paul? God sent Apostle Paul to preach to many parts of the world, many parts of the country. Likewise, friends, what I want to draw out is that even you and I, we are the apostle. Why I'm saying that you and I are the apostle? We are called as God called to be an apostle. Likewise, God called Paul to be an apostle. Likewise, God called you and me for his mission. You and me for his commissions. To work for him. God chose some disciples, God chose some followers to resume his ministry. When his time, he used some disciples to resume his ministry. He knows that he'll do that one day. And after that, that disciple, that followers, that apostle, that will resume his work. Look, by looking now, that Jesus' time is already gone, and apostle time is already gone. Now, I can say that, I should say that now is the time for you and me. That we need to, that God sent us for his mission. That is why we are here. That is why we are, you and I, we are here to train for his ministry. You and I, we are here. God called us. And as Paul knows his purpose of calling, to preach or to send for his commission, likewise, let us know. What I want to convey again is that, what I want to encourage you is that, and encourage myself that, let us know the purpose of our calling. The purpose of our calling is to preach. The purpose of calling is for his mission, not for our mission, for God's mission. That, not only that we can see, as I add for the first, the interrogative question, how can we know ourselves? How can we identify ourselves? As Paul identified himself, for the first, we need to know, we need to identify ourselves by knowing that we are the servant of God. The second is we need to know that we are the apostle. Not only that, we have the other point, that is, as Paul said that, to set apart for the gospel of God. For that, I want to draw out one third point, is that believers are to be set apart for gospel of God. Here, we see that the word set apart. Here, I'm using ESV Bible. And some version says that set apart. Like an KJV, like an IV, like KJV, it may say, or other version, it may say that separated. Or like good news, those who use good news, or ITED, like that, it says that, to preach the good news. It says like this. But as I'm using ESV, it says that set apart. We can say that it is to be separated also. Separated, which means, or set apart, which means move apart from some place to other place. As we all know that move apart, separated or set apart. Here the word set apart also derived from Greek word. That means aphoris menos. It says like this. And here Paul says that he himself is set apart for the gospel. Set apart. By looking back his testimony, we can see that how he separated from the worldly things. Look, on the way to Damascus, when he was coming, that he was converted. Let me sum up the story. That he was converted, persecutor into preacher. Before he was a persecutor, and after converted, he was a preacher. Look, he has changed. He has separated. First, before that, he was in the king palace, as you said it. He was enjoying his life with luxurious life. Even his life, if you look, he was brought up under the Rabbi governor again. He'll be well known about the Jewish custom and Jewish traditions. He will be very, very intelligent. He will be very, very wise man during that time. Look, instead of mingling with the worldly things or to persecute the Christian, he changed his life on the way to Damascus. He set apart, look, his life. After set apart his life, persecutor into preacher, he did not backslide, or he did not go back as a persecutor again. In his life, we can see that in his life, separations or set apart or change, as you say. In his life, we can see that on the way to Damascus, in his life, we can see that change. The separated part, what I want to say. Friends, when you are separated, let me put like this, and God chose him to be separated. In that moment, he did not mix with his old nature and his new nature. Likewise, what I want to draw out to each one of us is that, friends, we are cool, we are poor, or we are called to be set apart. We are called to be separated from the worldly things, especially to us. As we are theologians, we are called to be separated from the worldly things. We need to examine ourselves. We need to examine once again. Is it I am still in the worldly things? Is it you are still in the worldly things? We need to examine ourselves. No one can examine ourselves. No one can examine others. By examining ourselves, we can improve ourselves. Friends, look in the life of Paul or so. He did not mix up. Likewise, let us not mix up with our old nature, with our new nature. And some says like this, one who is called by God, he or she will not be success, he or she will not be effective in their ministry unless they are separated from the worldly things. One statement says like this. Friends, for what purpose are we separated? By looking next, we can see that set apart for the gospel. It says like this. For the gospelers, like this. For is dative. Dative means indirect speech. Indirect object. For whom? For Christ. That is what I want to draw. We are separated for whom? Paul separated for whom? Paul changed his life for whom? For Christ. Paul preached for whom? For Christ. For gospel. Then we can see in the good news like ITED or IETD, confused. It said that to preach the good news. The good news refers to gospel. The gospel refers to the death, the resurrections. Friends, let us examine that we are truly or we are purely separated for the worldly things or not. And by looking back
historical background of Israel that we can see again. Look, why God chose Israel. God separated Israel out of many tribes, out of many nations. He separated from many nations. He can choose some people, he can choose other people, other nations. But he chose Israel. He separated Israel. For what? For him. Or to adore him, to worship him. He separated from other tribes so that they will not mingle, they will not mix up with other nations like pagans or like non-believers like this. Even in the life of Israel, we can see that God separated even the nations. He chose out Israel to be separated from other tribes, from pagans, from non-believers. And look, God even select, God even separate, God even set apart even the Levites from 12 tribes. He chose 12 tribes again. Out of 12 tribes, he chose out one nation again. That is Levites. Why? Because he has a purpose. Or to minister his work. All of them, they cannot work. That is why he separate, he called out, or he called out the nations of tribe to minister for him. Likewise, friends, you and I, we are called out, we are separated for God. We are here, we are called out for God. That is why we are molded, or we are equipping our future career for our journey, so that God can use us mightily. That is what I want to convey. That if we are not separated from the worldly things, from this verse or from the life of Paul, let us separate it, so that as God used Paul mightily for this ministry. I hope so that God will use us. God will use you and God will use me. That will be the I can share short, when it is short or even it is long, I don't know. Or to make a conclusion, let me repeat once again about the point, to recollect back the point. Here, today, we are discussing about, we are sharing about self-identifications, knowing who we are, knowing who you are. And the interrogative questions that I draw is that, how can we know ourselves? How can we identify ourselves? To answer that, first, we are the servant of Christ. Believers are the servant of Christ. You are the servant of Christ, I am the servant of Christ. The second point is, believers are the apostle of Christ. You are the apostle, I am the apostle. And the third is, believers are set apart or separated or moved apart for the gospel of God. For the gospel of God. For God, you are separated. Friends, by applying all these points, or by knowing all these points, if we know all these points, I hope that God will use us, or God will know. Before, if we do not know that who we are and why we are, who we are, what we are, I hope that by looking or by reading this verse, we may know that who we are, and we may know, we may identify ourselves. That is what I can share this morning. To close up my sermon, then we have a word of prayer. Let's pray.